Here we go.
All right, awesome. Hi, everyone. I hope that you're having a nice day. Thank you so much for joining us today for our discussion. We're really excited to see all of you and to, to get down to business here. So what I'll just say is that today we are having a virtual event hosted by CEO. I'm going to talk about what this group is in a moment. But before I talk to you about our event, I just wanted to give the three of us organizers just a quick chance to tell you who we are so that you know who we are, and also to make you feel more comfortable interacting with us. Dan, do you want to tell us about yourself?
I just stopped video and muted myself. But yeah, once again, Dan Zevin. I work up at the Space Sciences Laboratory. I'm part of a small education there at that research lab. But I've been co-chair of CEO along with Kate Spohr for many years now. I'm thinking of going on 6 or 7 years, and try to attend as many of these as possible. And when I get a chance, working with members of our steering committee, we get to organize some of these forums. And it's just been wonderful working with both Laleh and Ryan.
All right, thank you. Ryan, please go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Ryan Madden. I am the Graduate Student Affairs Officer for the Environmental Science Policy Management Department, that's ESPM. I support graduate students. Before this work, I was in the Undergraduate Support Services for College and Natural Resources, or now Rouser College. I've served on the steering committee for CEO for just over a year and change now, and see these opportunities to connect as one of the most rewarding things about being in a community of practice. And it's really a great opportunity for us to share and engage in ideas and to hear from one another about the work that we're doing across campus. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for participating. And we're very excited to have this panel going. So thank you again to everyone, to our panelists, to Laleh and Dan, who've also made this a great experience.
All right, hi, I'm Laleh Cote. I'm also one of the three organizers for today. I have two roles that are taking up a lot of my time these days. I'm currently in the 4th year of my PhD in science education at UC Berkeley. So I'm in the graduate group for science and math education. I'm also, for almost 10 years now, I have been coordinating and running internship programs for STEM majors, mostly up at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. I also attended the California community colleges, a variety of the Peralta colleges, and then Gavilan College in Gilroy before that. And obviously, this is something very near and dear to my heart. My research often involves studying undergraduate education outside of the classroom and research experiences for community college students in particular, which is how I got started in science. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. So our event today is opportunities for engagement between UC Berkeley and community colleges in support of STEM transfer students. And so first, I'm just going to say a brief word about who we are, and then we're going to get into meeting our panelists for today. So where you are and who you are hanging out with virtually today. We are representing the Coalition for Education and Outreach, housed at UC Berkeley on campus. CEO is our acronym that we will use from time to time. So CEO is a community of practice, which really provides a space for educators, researchers, and practitioners and partners to come together and think, collaborate, share, discuss, and really support each other's efforts related to science education and outreach. Membership is free, and we really welcome anyone who would like to join us to do so. Most of our membership is located in the California Bay Area, but we know that some of our audience may very well extend to other areas around the country, especially now. So welcome, welcome. So the first thing I'm going to do is briefly introduce you to our panelists, and then I'm going to give them an opportunity to talk about the wonderful work that they do. And panelists, you can just wave hello when I introduce you. So first we have Angélica Garcia. She's the president for the Berkeley City College, and she is really an educational leader who has demonstrated her commitment for improving access, equity, and student success in higher education. She's a leadership fellow of the National Community College Hispanic Council, and she earned her doctorate in educational leadership at San Francisco State University. She also has a master's in social work from San Diego State University and a bachelor's of arts degree in liberal and civic studies from St. Mary's College in California. During her tenure as Vice President of Student Services at Skyline College, I know we have some connections today, Dr. Garcia's leadership and collaboration led to the design and implementation of the Promise Scholars Program. This was a program focused on increasing 2- and 3-year graduation rates for students, highlighting STEM pathways for transfer. And in May, I believe, of this year, she will officially start her new role as Berkeley City College's next president. Welcome, welcome.
Great, thank you.
You're so welcome. Next, we have Kristina Tinsley joining us today. She's the Assistant Director for the Transfer Alliance Project and Community College Transfer Services. She's also the Program Manager of the NIH Bridges to Baccalaureate program at UC Berkeley. Hi, Kristina. So Kristina transferred from Laney College to UC Berkeley herself, where she earned her Bachelor's of Arts. And since 2007, she has worked for UC Berkeley's CCTS and TAP programs, helping community college students really navigate that path to transfer, which I'm sure we're going to talk about today. Her work includes co-managing the UC Berkeley NIH Bridges to Baccalaureate program, which supports underrepresented community college students pursuing both biology and chemistry-based majors through providing academic advising, transfer support, and also a paid summer research program at UC Berkeley. The Bridges to Baccalaureate program, this is a partnership between UC Berkeley, Chabot College, and the Peralta Colleges. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Amanda is up next. Amanda Dillon is our undergraduate advisor in Berkeley Computing and Data Science and Society at UC Berkeley. So Amanda is an undergraduate major advisor for data science in the Division of Computing, Data Science, and Society at UC Berkeley. She has been an academic advisor on campus for 4 years, all of these spent working with STEM students in particular. Her work centers around creating space for transfer students and implementing programs to support their academic pursuits at Berkeley and beyond. Currently, she's working toward her MA in Organization and Leadership in Higher Education, focused on transfer students in STEM. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Jenny Laleh, hello, is a STEM Center Counselor at Skyline Community College. Jenny currently serves as a STEM counselor at Skyline College, as I mentioned, also the Student Activity Director for the Strengthening Pathways to Success in STEM project, which is designed to increase persistence, retention, transfer, and graduation for Hispanic and low-income students through strengthening the infrastructure at Skyline College and also implementing collaborative activities with San Francisco State University. Jenny developed and managed the college's first STEM learning communities, as well as the Skyline College to SF State Engineering Transfer Bridge Program. Jenny, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So with that, I'm going to have all of our panelists unmuted, please. And then I'm gonna have each of the panelists just go down the line and answer this first question so we can get to know you a little bit better outside of those beautiful biographies that you provided to us. So to our panelists, and Jenny, I'm just gonna go to you first if that's okay. So I'd like to ask each of you to answer, what are the main areas or topics that you and your team at your institution typically focus on when it comes to supporting community college or transfer students majoring in STEM? So what are those main areas or topics that you typically deal with? And Jenny, I'll go to you.
Okay. So at Skyline College, I would say the three main areas of focus for us is one, increasing the success rate and the pass rates around gateway courses, especially working with community college students at Skyline and nationally, we see that a high percentage of students start at a math level that is below transfer. So when it's getting students through that math pipeline can be one of the, a big barrier for students. Looking at our college pass rates, what we see is if we have 100 students that, let's say, start at the level of trig, only 14 of those students would actually go on and complete pre-calculus and then complete calculus 1. So that's one of a huge barrier that we try to address. The second area of focus for us is really building community, the idea of integrating students into a community early on in their transfer journey. And then I would say the last area of focus for us is expanding work-based learning opportunities and research opportunities for our students.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Amanda, I'm going to go to you next. Same questions. What are those main areas or topics that your team typically focuses on?
Yeah, so when you all posed this question, I kind of thought a little bit about how I would organize this and the efforts that we've seen be successful, and really they sort of fall into two big buckets, which is addressing the social and navigational capital of transfer students once they get to UC Berkeley. And the social piece really is, you know, Jenny mentioned the community, and that is part of it, sort of when having to do with academics. Upper division STEM classes are hard. And there's pockets of support on campus, but not like there is for lower division classes. And so students have seen the way our students are dealing with this, right? They're creating, you know, peer networks, they've got study groups, they're working together on these sort of more difficult upper division classes. And those study groups form over, you know, many semesters together, many classes together. And so transfer students, when they first get here, don't have those networks. And so a lot of the focus of the programs that I've been a part of has been focused on jumpstarting those networks and getting students and getting those peer groups connected earlier on. So not only with each other as incoming transfer students and sharing that experience, but also with the broader population of students in that major or in that area of study. And the other piece is sort of navigational capital. So those are all those kind of, I mean, this could be lots of different things, but when I think really specifically about the programs I've been a part of, again, it's all of those things that you don't know when you first get to campus about what class do I take from what professor, you know, knowing that, you know, a 5th semester for a transfer student might actually be an option. That might be something that you set yourself up to continue on your studies with. Has to do with knowing about deadlines and, you know, being able to drop classes, all that kind of stuff. And again, those are the kinds of things that students, certainly transfer students day one, are not going to know about, and many wouldn't even know about on into their, you know, 2nd semester, because these are things that kind of aren't all written down somewhere on a website that you can read about, right? There are things that you learn from your peer groups, or you learn from an offhanded conversation with an advisor or with a faculty member. So again, kind of getting them exposed to that information early, because most transfer students don't have the margin of error that our first years do if they misstep somewhere, or if they you know, don't understand a guideline, or again, understand the best way to prepare for midterms, things like that. So I think those are the two broad categories that we look at addressing in the programs that I've been a part of.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Christina, I'm going to go to you next for this question.
Yeah, so the number one thing that I first address with all of our students is making sure they have access to the information that they need, which is a huge barrier for potential transfer students. There's information out there, but some students, they're not meeting regularly with counselors at the community college. Assist.org, which is the repository for all information on transferable courses and preparing for your major, is not fully functional right now. So even students who know about Assist aren't able to find the information that they need. So the first thing I do with any student when I meet with them is make sure they have that information on what are the prerequisites I need to transfer, and then working on kind of building out from that a more holistic view. So it's not just about having the course information, it's also about looking at how is their life set up to support their educational goals. And for students who are working or have family responsibilities, that balance between other responsibilities and school is going to look different than a student who has minimal outside responsibilities. It can really focus more time, take more units, be more involved in on-campus activities. So looking at that holistic perspective and how each student can maximize the information and resources available to them and create a balance. So we have a very student-centered focus with our individual students, and then that builds out to our larger program activities that we have for them. So like with our Bridges to Baccalaureate program, we have a number of different activities that support their academics as well as support building a sense of community. These are all underrepresented students. So as a person of color in STEM, finding a community and having other students who have navigated these same kinds of issues is really, really important, as well as having the graduate student mentors who also share their personal and academic experiences. So both that informational piece and the community and resource piece get wrapped up together as kind of a starting point for helping our students succeed.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Angélica, we're going to go to you next. Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, hang on. Okay.
Great, thank
ahead.
you. So first I want to acknowledge that I'll be joining the Berkeley City College team in May, but I've had the opportunity to engage in some of the transition work. So I think the perspective that I'd like to offer in your question is the role that a community college has in supporting this process. And what I would say that from that capacity of being a community's local college, community college is to demystify the pathway from literally kindergarten, that K through 12 pathway, resource the pathway. So then what does it look like to then provide the resources and supports for community college faculty, staff, academic leaders to engage in those partnerships in the K through 12, and then also engage with that in resourcing and supporting faculty in the collaborations with UC Berkeley in particular. So with our local 4-year institutions. I think that what it does is that we can position making lasting partnerships that can withstand the rising tides and falls of what is happening in the economy, what is happening in terms of the level of financial resource that the U.S. Department of Education will or will not give at a certain point in time, whether or not the state of California is engaging in some partnerships. And so I feel that the community college is well poised to be the facilitator in that process. Another example with this is that similar to my colleague Christina, who was just speaking, there is so much to demystify in the process, because unfortunately, as institutions of higher education, we love bureaucracy, we love the academy, we love somehow showing our stripes for how we have mastered decoding the language that is the academy. And I believe that the community colleges serve the most pivotal role to decode that, to demystify that. I believe that counseling faculty in particular and what it means to navigate not just what the CSU or the UC system is doing as a whole, but then what each individual campus is doing with each embedded program, and helping students understand that the applied arts class that they took is satisfactory for UC Santa Barbara, but UC Davis wants nothing to do with it. So it's that level of nuance that I believe we need to participate in. And lastly, where I'll close with this is the giving faculty the space in the community college to do curriculum development and articulation with K through 12 partners, especially high school, around dual enrollment programs to start that credit earning earlier, and with our 4-year colleagues to build intentional partnerships and internships and research opportunities. So thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Of course. So thank you so much to each of our panelists. It's really nice to be able to get a flavor for the kind of work that you do. For everyone, panelists and audience members alike, the first part of this panel discussion is really going to be about framing the current situation. What are the current experiences that our community college students or our transfer students are experiencing? What's currently happening as sort of a knowledge sharing? Then what we're going to do is break and open it up for questions between the audience and panelists. And then in the second half, we'll be really talking about future directions and opportunities. So just so you know, don't worry, we will be getting to all of your great ideas and looking toward the future. So something that actually all 4 of you commented on in different ways with different language was in supporting students who really begin their studies at a community college and have their eye on a career in STEM. It sounds like, however you slice and dice it, there are really these logistical issues and then sort of nuanced, detail-oriented approach that you have to take in terms of supporting student success. But then there's also sort of the larger strategy. What is my life going to look like? What do I need to do, you know, from a holistic perspective to really be successful? What kind of communities do I need to be tapping into that I'm maybe not a part of? So I'd like to sort of ask a two-parter here in thinking about the experiences that you've had or what you've seen that has been working well in your corner of the woods. If we think about those detailed logistics, what do you think is really working well, or what do you see is really, you know, the programs or the strategies that you have in play to help students think about the minutia and the details and how do I get from A to B? And then we'll zoom out and look at the larger picture there. So Amanda, if I can call on you first, I would love to.
Sure. So if I am understanding your question correctly, you know, I think translating sort of kind of understanding this experience that students are going to be entering into, right? It can be very, very different from the STEM classrooms the STEM classrooms at the university can be very, very different than the STEM classrooms they experienced at community college, and sort of translating that experience. I think one of the things that we found most valuable is honestly connection and mentorship, which is like not rocket science. You know, it's connecting these students. So for instance, we had, when I was an advisor in physics, we had a program over the summer where we actually connected. We had a group of students that we recruited to be mentors who were current transfer students who'd been in the program for at least a year, and had them do outreach over the summer to our incoming class of students, and found that many students didn't take advantage of this, but it's a bit of a one size does not fit all kind of situation. That's why we're all coming at it from different angles and looking at different ways that we can address support issues. But again, making those connections, having students be able to talk to other students about experience, which is not something that I can really speak to as an advisor, but is really important in setting expectations. And I think that's one of the tricky things, is that I think many of our students come in with these expectations about what life is going to be like as a STEM student at Berkeley, and then they sit down in those first couple of classes, that first midterm, those problem sets, and life looks very different from what they expected. And so giving them a bit of a chance to get information from current students and get an idea of what to expect and the kinds of things that they should be preparing for, I think can be really helpful. Again, that connection and that translation of experience.
Awesome, thank you so much. Jenny, I'm gonna go to you for this question.
Sure thing. So at Skyline, something that we've seen to be really successful is cohorted learning communities. So here we have a learning community for our science, our biology and chemistry students, and we also have another program for our engineering and computer science students. And what those programs look like is we recruit students that start at the same level of math, and then those students get to take all of their sequential STEM courses together, all of their chemistry courses together, their math courses together, and their physics courses together. And then along with that, they also get a wraparound support from a dedicated retention specialist, a dedicated counselor, and also instructional faculty. And with that, we've had a lot of success. Earlier, I talked about how if we had a simulation of 100 students entering that math pipeline, we only have 14 that actually complete. But with our cohort-based learning communities, we've increased that number to 45. So we nearly tripled the number of students going through that pipeline and being able to transfer and be eligible for admissions into university. The other area of focus for us is building community. And on top of those cohort-based learning communities, something that we really do as a STEM center is acknowledge our students' needs holistically. So that has led us to facilitate programs such as Mindfulness Mondays, where students start off the week doing 5 minutes of meditation. And then that's also led to a series called What It Do Wednesdays, where students, instead of just connecting with one another academically, they actually enter small groups and get to process things that really hit home for them. So in the past, we've had them process things like masculinity and relationships and things of that nature. And that really helps with building a cohesive STEM community at our campus.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Halika, I'm going to go to you with this question as well. What have you seen that has been working well in terms of those detailed logistics that students need to keep track of and, handling it?
Well, one of the things to note, Berkeley City College has been well positioned and has phenomenal relationships with the local community and with UC Berkeley. So one of the things that I want to share as a statistical point and then offer some background is that 11% of all the degrees awarded at Berkeley City College are STEM focused, right? So those are number of percentage of students. But of the total Berkeley City College who transfer into the UC system, 25% of them are STEM majors. And so one of the things that Berkeley City College has done well with faculty program development is really engaging in the active recruitment, supporting the recruitment efforts of UC Berkeley, supporting the opportunities where Berkeley City College students have the opportunity to engage in internships, engage in research opportunities. I think one of the other things that works really well is that when there's actual curriculum alignment and articulation, then you have a student, especially if they're historically minoritized students, they come from low-income communities, first-generation college students, women in STEM, then we take the work as the organization to not put it on the students to try to figure out how to negotiate two systems, but our two systems are taking that guesswork out of the way. And then lastly, I think what I'd like to add on what happens well is when we enter into partnerships with our local organizations that are promoting STEM, at the earliest points in time, then we start that pathway development that I think Amanda and Jenny were talking about in terms of the skills building. And what I would say is building from a strengths-based perspective. So let's not look at students that they somehow are deficit in their ability or in their skills. It's just that it's called something different. And I'm thinking of programs and partnerships with Sarah Science, which really gets into the elementary schools, specifically with girls and robotics training. I'm thinking of the after-school programs that Boys and Girls Programs often offer in the communities, all the way through, again, what I've seen throughout community colleges, and I want to lend on this one for Skyline College a little bit, is the expanding your horizons. So when you're bringing the hundreds of students to experience that day, engage with researchers, with faculty, that starts to, if they didn't have the question ignited of, oh, do I want to be a STEM? Now they can see someone looks like me, someone came from the community where I came from, and this too could be a pathway for me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And Christina, we'll go to you.
Yeah, so we facilitate a bunch of different programming, but I'm going to focus specifically on our NIH Bridges to Baccalaureate program and what's successful there, because we work with the students in two different capacities. So there's during the academic year while they're enrolled in their classes at the community college, and then there's the summer when they're here doing research at Berkeley. So during the academic year, one of our main focuses, in addition to making sure they have the information they need about transfer requirements, making sure they have a strong ed plan so that they're on track to meet those requirements, is connecting them with resources at the community college. So are they seeing a community college counselor already? And if not, making sure that they know that information. Are they connected to MESA if their campus has a MESA program? MESA provides wonderful support, so that's always one of my first recommendations. Are they connected to programs like EOPS or TRIO? And different programs exist at different community colleges, so what a student can access at Chabot might be a little different than what they can access at Merit, but we know which programs exist at the campuses we serve, so making sure we can direct them to those appropriate resources so they have support in all the different ways they need it. Are they using the tutoring center? All those kinds of things are really helpful. And then in the summer, they're here on the Berkeley campus full-time doing research 5 days a week. And so we have a bunch of services we provide when they're here in the summer. And that includes starting them off with some laboratory boot camp through QB3. They do a week of lab boot camp. And so regardless of how they're feeling about their academic preparation coming in, because they come in with different levels of courses completed. Some have done almost everything they need to do to transfer. Some have really just done a year's worth of STEM courses. So that lab boot camp helps them all get up to speed with the skills they're going to need going into the labs. So we've got that support. We have graduate students who help mentor them throughout the summer and help them make sure that any questions that they have, they're able to get answered. And then we have the community of support. So we have all the students, and we have a number of activities that they all do together to build that community, some of which are facilitated and some of which are more informal. We do a facilitated discussion with a fabulous presenter who talks about being a person of color, navigating higher education in STEM, and how to build resiliency and address the kinds of issues that inevitably are going to come up for our students that have already come up, right? And they've been dealing with as best they can, and helps give them more resources for dealing with those in the future. And then we also have, opportunities for students to connect amongst themselves and, just be a support network for themselves and for each other.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I also want to give a shout out to MESA at Gavilan College. I don't think I would be sitting here right now with all of you if it wasn't for the incredible support of that group, and just being able to tutor and have friends who are also going through those same experiences I did. So this is reminding me to call my MESA professors and say hello to them soon. So we do have a couple of questions, so we're gonna pause on this topic for a moment. I wanted to see if Christina has any information about which the community colleges in the area have the highest admission or transfer admission to Cal, if you have it now, or if you wanted to follow up with us later. But do you have any sense for that?
I can, but I'm going to preface it by saying people often think that there's some kind of a pipeline, that there's priority. The UCs do not give any priority admissions to any community college. So the fact that some community colleges have higher transfer rates to Berkeley has nothing to do with the fact that Berkeley is giving any kind of preferential admissions. In most cases, it's the community colleges that are the largest. So I can't tell you off the top of my head exact statistics for STEM majors, but I know that in general, some of the schools that send the largest number of students to Berkeley will be places like Santa Monica College, Diablo Valley College. They're very large colleges, and so they just have a larger student body. That doesn't mean that the admission rate of students coming from Santa Monica College is going to be better than a small college like Merritt. It's just a larger college, so they have more students who are able to apply, period.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And so Ryan, I know that we have 1 or 2 questions from audience members, so I'm going to let you take that.
That's correct. Thank you. We're going to first go to Claudia von Bacano. Claudia, I hope I said your last name correctly, and please correct me or introduce yourself. But we have a question about how these programs fit in with one another. Claudia, you're on the mic.
Great. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. This is a tremendous, amazing opportunity. I'm so excited. I've actually used to work at UCOP on community colleges, and so I see some familiar faces, and it's really encouraging that we're continuing to strengthen this work. Currently at UC Berkeley, working as executive director of the D Lab, and we secured an NSF I Use STEM grant that is documenting, thank you, the incredible work of the Data Science Education Program under the new division of Computing, Data Science, and Society. And so we're currently documenting a lot of the work, and then in the future years, we're actually going to be in that cycle of inquiry and improvement. And so already we know, and something we've already faced, even from the D-Lab perspective, is that the STEM communities of color or marginalized communities are very small because we don't have parity with the state in terms of African Americans, Latinx, Southeast Asians, first generation, et cetera. And so, how do we, I'm curious about how do we build in a cross-campus way, communities that strengthen and support both STEM and data science communities so that we can ensure this beautiful, amazing work that you're reporting about cohorts and, increasing success rates. What existing mechanisms exist, whether is it through Meetup or et cetera, that actually are cross-campus. So once there's a transfer in, that those folks that we're trying to support feel like they are, they have a cohort of people, maybe not just at UC Berkeley, but across different campuses that they can continue to connect with.
Thank you so much for the question. So any panelists that do want to chime in and answer Claudia's question, feel free to do so.
I'll begin with one thing that I've just noticed. I think that during this time, as all institutions of higher education and educational settings were addressing supporting the shelter in place, the Save Lives, Stay Home, I think that being on this virtual and remote format is in some ways just taking a sledgehammer to the comforts and the norms that we are used to operating under. So I think that there's room and opportunity for taking the walls and the confines of what a cohort learning model looks like and offering something really similar to what we have here. I believe that engaging in the sociopolitical context of what is happening is often working from a position of strength. And I think if you have ever dared to try to do something different that your university just didn't honor because it somehow wasn't part of the code of how we were trained and educated as scholars, as researchers, as administrators, now is the perfect time, because this is the way to engage and to forge new roads and new territories. And I will say that I had the opportunity during a college committee yesterday to learn of what is happening with our STEM community at my current college, at Skyline College, where they are taking essentially the back end support of the academic tutorial support, the community engagement virtually, and really trying to recreate that space. And in some ways, it's opening the doors for some students who physically might not have attended because of obligations with work or childcare and life, and you're giving them the opportunity to be able to do so. So I think I'll end there, because I think that now is the time. If you've ever wanted to try something, sis, hermana, now is the time to do it.
I just wanted to comment real quick. I think a couple things come to mind. We do have the Transfer Center, which is on campus, which does bring, it is sort of a central hub. And it also, I think I don't know if Lorena Valdez is on the call, but there's several centers within that center that cater to all of the different identities that our students are bringing in. And there's also, it's a place for, many different services on campus to advertise to transfer students about the services they offer in the community support. And because I think all of our students are coming in with lots of different identities, and it's sort of like, where are they feeling those identities the most when they're in the STEM classroom? How are they feeling when they're in other areas on campus? How are they feeling? The other thing I did wanted to sort of a slight plug here is that we're brand new. We've just launched something called the Transfer Success Group. And it's a community of practice that we've just formed. And we're going to be getting the word out soon about how to join this great group and the kinds of events and forums that we're going to be holding. And it really is a place for all different stakeholders across campus to come together and talk about, our transfer students getting the information that they need about all of the different areas of support that are available to them on campus, and coming together as a community and saying, where are their gaps? Where is there just misunderstanding between different units, right? We've already begun to see that just in our small group that kind of came together to form this community of practice, that there are not misunderstandings, but just miscommunication in terms of what experience looks like in one, in an academic unit versus more of a social or support unit. So that is also coming, and hopefully to get the word out more about that, but that is hopefully going to be a place that will be able to capture information and get a better understanding of what is the lay of the land right now? What is the student experience across campus? Not just in these separate pockets that many of us represent.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Ryan, we have another audience question. Is that correct?
Yeah, we actually do. And I think now's an appropriate time. So Sarah, sorry, I told you that I was going to call on you in just a minute, but would it be okay? Sorry, I also have to scroll through. This is Sarah Harmon asking a question about timing and kind of aligns with the communication piece.
Sure.
Hi. So my name is Sarah Harmon. I am the manager of, hi Laleh, of the CalTeach program here on the Berkeley campus. And what we do is offer an accelerated pathway to a teaching credential for Berkeley STEM students. So we have a 6-course minor and then an optional program, credential program, so that students can get their credential while they're getting their bachelor's degree. But we find that a lot of transfer students just run out of time. And so the 6-course minor is kind of a lot. And then somebody recently was telling me that it's possible for community college students to take classes at Cal, and it doesn't cost them as much. So I'm curious about that, and also curious about if it would be too intense for community college students to be taking Berkeley classes. You know, there's this like huge timeline piece, but there's also just the overwhelm of being on the Berkeley campus. Although I don't think our classes are as intense as a STEM major class, so maybe it would be a better introduction, but I'm just kind of curious what community college administrators think of that.
Okay, any panelists that want to comment on this, feel free to do so.
Yeah, I can answer at least part of that. So there is the cross-enrollment program, which allows for community college students to take classes at UC Berkeley while they're community college students. The other option is, of course, the Berkeley summer session for students to take classes in summer session. So there are issues with both of those. Obviously, you have to be able to physically get to the Berkeley campus. So this is really only an option for local students. I don't know if the classes for the minor are offered in the summer or not. We have a program where, separate from the NIH program, one of our other programs we facilitate, we bring about 30 students to the campus to take classes in the summer, and we pay the tuition for those classes because summer session is expensive. So low-income students are not going to be able to take a Berkeley summer session class. Once they're admitted students and can get financial aid, it's a different story, obviously, but when they're at community college, that's not going to happen for them. So yes, there are ways that community college students can access Berkeley classes, but they're not going to be available, unfortunately, to all students, either for the cost or the location, or even for local students, they just might not fit in their ed plan.
There's a program that San Diego State University holds, and it's actually the School of Social Work that has this particular program. And in that case, it's particularly geared to supporting foster youth transferring into higher education as the group that has one of the lowest college going and college completion rates. And in that particular partnership, the Consensus Organizing Center, which is an affiliate and connected to the San Diego State University, raises the funds, engages in grant writing to pay for, in essence, the fees. And students participate in very much a cohort model where the university is in agreement with their local high schools to essentially have it count for high school completion. So very much follows almost like a dual enrollment program, even though it's community college to 4-year. I meant to say that they were high school students who had gone to community college and now we're continuing. So it was a pathway specific for foster youth. I think that your point is well taken. It would be interesting as we continue as organizations to build these partnerships and apply for HSI and different kinds of grants. We know that each one of us is more competitive when we submit grants that show collaboration, pathway, partnership. And so I'd be curious to see what it looks like to do an accelerated format of a summer session in between a winter session, what it would look like for community college faculty to engage in some curriculum articulation around some of the courses, be it the minor or other STEM courses, that would just allow for students to actually not have to do more, but have their academic work within the community college also be in alignment with that transfer institution. I think that there's some really amazing programs all up and down the state that we could learn from, and then it's just figuring out who's well poised in this point in time to be able to make those assurances. So for example, nursing was a program before when I was a professional academic advisor, even 15, 20 years ago, that was already an impacted program. And so those partnerships are far more restrictive, but if you could get a student into that pathway, they were set, right? They were poised for that kind of transfer.
Right. Perfect. Thank you so much. So I know that we have lots of questions circulating. I noticed also that some of them are related to this question that I wanted to get into next. So before we were sort of talking about these logistical things, right? Our community college transfer students really have to juggle a lot of these little details. However, there's also this this other thing where when you are thinking about a career in STEM, you know, and we know that people are majoring in something, but they may be thinking about a variety of different careers that would align with that major. We need to think about how those students are really integrating themselves into the STEM community. And that can be locally, that can be, you know, sort of nationally. Some folks I know here have experience with supporting students to really get research as an undergrad, which is a big part of being a STEM major for some. You know, we just heard about the Cal Teach program. Those are STEM majors who are really thinking about going into K-12 education as educators. That would be a totally different type of professional development. And then there are also other things. You know, we know STEM majors are thinking about med school or nursing, which we just heard about. So from your perspectives, and I'm just going to go, I'll give some time for each of the panelists to comment on this. When you're thinking about supporting students in terms of getting them prepared to get integrated into the STEM community, that may look different for your different institutions or groups. What are the kinds of things that you see are working well, or things that you're like, yes, yes, we need more of that? And I will give some time to each person to comment on that. So Amanda, let's go to you first, please.
Sure, thank you. So I think a lot of this, it goes back to that tight timeline, right? That transfer students are on. For instance, one of the things is if you're interested in going into a career when you graduate, sort of as a software engineer or in some kind of tech role, you need to be applying for summer internships, oftentimes in fall. The fall before the summer starts, which is the same fall that you're starting your your undergraduate work at, you know, a university. So you've got so much on your plate that you're also now supposed to absorb this, you know, this next task. And many of our transfer students aren't coming in with having spent the last 2 summers in a research group or in an internship. And so I think a lot of it is, as the other panelists have mentioned, is kind of getting that information to students early, and also making sure that they're aware of how to do those things, right? And I think it is, the research piece is tricky because each research group, each, you know, lab has a very different way of students coming into their groups. And so that is one thing that I will just sort of say, I don't think we do great as a university right now. And I'm hoping that, you know, we find areas to improve in this way. I mean, one of the things that we do offer regularly is something called URAP, right? Which is the undergraduate research something program.
I think apprentice is
apprentice, thank you. And so this allows students, right, as a very straightforward way, here's a list of opportunities that you can apply to. But that, again, those timelines are really rough for transfer students, because if you want to apply in the fall, you have to get your application in within those first 2 weeks. And as a transfer student, you've been spending the last, you know, month or, you know, the time running up to class, you've either been at GBO, or maybe you've been moving, maybe you've been feeling, you know, dealing with all the logistics about going to this new, so the current support structures that we have on campus to allow students to find research, to get students into internships, a lot of them really are designed for first years. And that is one thing that we have to work on as a campus, is figuring out how do we design processes and design programs that are encapsulating everyone's experience, right? So not just the first year experience, but also a transfer experience. And so I think the real opportunity here probably lives within a lot of the departments themselves, a lot of the STEM departments themselves, to figure out how can they partner better with local labs, or work with their faculty to figure out how do we set aside spots in research groups for transfer students, or how do we kind of create more of a pipeline for students to take these specific classes in their fall semester, which means that they're better or more eligible or more qualified to get into a research position in the spring. So I think that there are definitely things that I think separate departments are trying to do or doing, but as a whole on campus, I think this is an area that is not particularly well suited for transfer students.
Thank you so much. Well, feel free to answer the question in this way, something that is working well in terms of integrating students into the STEM community, or perhaps something that you would like to see. I think it's a fair point. I'm rolling as we go, you know. Okay, Christina, I'm going to go to you next, please.
Sorry, just unmuting. So yeah, I think I will echo some of what Amanda said, is that, and I think it's a challenge that Berkeley presents as a whole for students, is we're a gigantic organization. We're a ferocious bureaucracy. Like the levels of bureaucracy coming from a community college, even if you're coming from a large community college, navigating the Berkeley bureaucracy is an education in and of itself. And so one of the challenges I think students face is that there is support, there are resources, there are programs, but there's so much information and it's not centrally located, so it can be hard to access that, especially as a transfer student coming in already your first semester, you're navigating this huge transition and you're focusing on your academics. So to think about these kind of longer term things can be really challenging that first semester, I think. So one of the things that does work really well about our B2B program is that the students do research in the summer before, either the summer directly before they transfer or a year before they transfer. And our students who have been transferred to Berkeley, a lot of them have actually continued to do research in the labs that they researched with in the summer. So they've already got this connection set up. Some of them have transferred to other universities, but they have this research experience on their resume. So that helps them to get a research position at their new institution. And so having that experience as kind of a gateway has been really, really helpful for our students. And it also has given them a little bit of confidence in navigating, whether it's at Berkeley or at another institution, all the other resources that are out there, because we do introduce them to other types of, resources. If you're thinking about going to graduate school, here's some resources for how you can find funding for that. If you're thinking about doing research and, another lab in the future, here's other ways you can go about finding that, whether it's through REUs, or it's at an institution that you're going to be based at. So we provide that support, but yeah, I'm not sure that transfer students as a whole are able to access that support widely.
Got it. Thank you so much. Jenny, I'm going to go to you next. And I believe there was also a request, Jenny, if you could speak about the partnership with San Francisco State as well.
Sure thing. So I'll try to answer this question centered on integrating students into scientific research. I think that it's easily perceived by students that research is something that's actually more intermediate or advanced. So it's intimidating to apply when you feel like you don't have that much research experience. So something Skyline has done is, I think we've done a good job doing a scaffolding approach where we're creating stepping stones for students to feel more confident in research. The last two winters, we implemented a winter research scholars program that was only 2 weeks long. Students got paid a $600 stipend to participate, and that was where they got to be introduced to the process of research, learning how to do like literature reviews, learning how to do data analysis. And coming out of programs like that, I'm seeing that students are much more confident to go the next level and apply for a summer research internship. We also have partnered with San Francisco State University to offer summer internships with their faculty members. And we currently have a partnership with San Francisco State with our engineering transfer bridge program, where essentially we have students that are transferring over to San Francisco State before they transfer over. They're meeting with the STEM counselor to build out a roadmap to graduation. And then as they are entering their new university, they're meeting all these students from Skyline that are also transferring over, building community that way, and then also getting connected with peer mentors and faculty mentors. And with that special connection with faculty mentors, these students are getting access to more opportunities for research once they're on campus.
Thank you so much. And Angélica, we will go to you.
Great, thank you. Gosh, well, my colleagues on the panel have already shared so much. I think some things I'd like to maybe highlight are opportunities and ways which partnerships around building the research experience capacity. And so some that I've had some exposure with is a national organization known as Base 11 that focuses on both the entrepreneurship and research and product development. It's often in low-income communities of color, historically minoritized communities, this idea that your intellectual property, the what you resource and development, they actually partner through their particular program, the entrepreneurial spirit of then patenting that. What does it mean to patent the very solutions that you're trying to solve in the community, to keep promoting community development as opposed to kind of external large corporations taking your idea and turning around a, you know, whatever crazy amount percentage profit. I think the opportunity that when a community college has the opportunity to build a fabrication lab or have a fab lab on campus, then it's not just about the science labs, but it's also seeing that research and science and trying to solve a problem is multifaceted. And I think this goes back to, I might've been Amanda and Christina that were saying that like the research angle and the research language and kind of behavior that a particular faculty scholar will take could vary from program to program. So I think another thing is if and when, you haven't asked the question of like what we could do, but if and when we could really develop partnerships, like I recognize that Berkeley City College has the absolute privilege of being walking distance from UC Berkeley. So that is something that not every community college across the state has an access to. And so part of it is recognizing how you leverage what is available to make accessible for students. But where I wanted to lead with this next comment is when we can do a better job of maybe bringing UC faculty onto our campus, taking community college faculty onto UC Berkeley campus, and designing community research-based projects, right? So making the research relevant, making it about their communities, making it about something that could absolutely impact the lives of the people that are in Berkeley, Albany, Emeryville, Oakland, I think just personalizes it more. And for particular communities for whom access to STEM pathway just feels that much more distant, when it's about my community, then all of a sudden I might be scared about the research experience or not having it, but now you're asking me to answer a relevant question, or you're using real life examples. I'm thinking of a faculty member at my college that used the Flint, Michigan water crisis to engage in statistical development, right? So now it wasn't just stats for stats' sake, but it was relevant to a community that was really similar to what students were experiencing. So I think that that's that piece, right? How do we make it relevant and meaningful for students? Because what we want them to learn is the skills of thinking as a researcher, not thinking that it has to be so external and something that's only done through a microscopic lens, right? It's having the research, the questioning, the critical thinking. That's what's really needed as well.
Thank you so much to all of the panelists. I feel like my brain is on fire right now because there's so many beautiful, amazing questions coming through. You guys are sharing such inspiring information about the work that you do and also what you see for the future. And with an eye on the time, I'm just going to make a couple of statements, and then we are actually going to transition into our looking toward the future, which actually has just already been brought up in a few different ways. So first of all, I will say, as part of the follow-up to this beautiful discussion, we are going to be connecting with people who are asking a lot about how we track student success, but that could be like another 2-hour Zoom meeting on its own. So what we're going to do is actually get folks organized so that you can share the ways that you track student success at your own institutions, and also share resources within our community that we've built here today, which I think would be really, really great. Also, this issue about access, walking distance, this was something that came up, and this came up for some questions, and also, Angélica, you brought this up as well, when we think about students being competitive for internship and research opportunities, and also the things that our community college students and our transfer students really care about. If we do bring this community-oriented lens to research, we'll definitely be showcasing the rich funds of knowledge that students already bring with them into these experiences, but also make the research relevant on both sides. So anyway, we are exploding with topics, which is a really, really good problem to have. So with that, and with a lot of the questions that are coming up, I want us to take a step and look forward. And I'm just going to have, I'll again call on each of the panelists. So related to the topics that we've talked about, or things that are really, really on your priority list, what would you really like to see as we move forward, either as something that you think is starting to develop and you'd like to see develop further, or something that does not currently exist that you'd like to see in terms of future collaborations or partnerships, or perhaps initiatives that you'd like to see moving forward? So something that you already see is starting to emerge that you'd like to support more, or something brand new that you would love to see come into existence if possible. And Jenny, I'm gonna go to you first with this one, please.
Okay. Over at Skyline, something that we've been exploring is recognizing that with learning communities, we can only serve a small set of students. So as a campus, we've been really looking at how can we scale up and serve more students? How can we have every student that steps foot on campus experience a sense of community? So over the past year or two, we've been exploring the concept of student success teams, where each student enters campus and they might be housed under one of 4 essentially clusters of majors. And they'll be connected to a team of essentially peer mentors, faculty instructors, and counselors. So that's something that we've been exploring as a campus to just scale up and reach more students. So that's something that we've been focusing on. In terms of things that I would like to see developed in the future, I'd love to see more programs that allow students to spend some time on college campuses to see themselves in a university setting. During my time at Berkeley, there were a lot of student-led groups that led either STEM-based or cultural programs where they would bring on high school students to spend 3 or 4 days on the Berkeley campus and even stay in the college dorms. So I'd love to see more programs like that centered for transfer students.
Thank you so much. Christina, I'm gonna go to you next.
Yeah, and actually I'm going to piggyback off what Jenny just said about bringing students to campus. So there are some programs that bring transfer students or prospective transfer students to campus for a short immersion program. The Office of Undergraduate Admissions has a program that they typically do in June where they'll bring prospective transfer students to the campus. I think it's for 3 nights and 2 days. Our program has also done something like that. Obviously this year, who knows what's going to happen with those kinds of immersion programs, because they do typically happen in the spring. But those kind of programs do exist. They're not big enough to serve all of the students who would like to participate in them, but they definitely do exist. So I guess for me, one thing I'd like to see is to be able to expand access to programs like this. If we had more students who could come do an immersive program, that would be wonderful. Research, I have 15 students every summer who we bring here to do research, but that's a small fraction of students who could be interested in this opportunity. And because our particular program is funded by a grant through the National Institute of Health, it also has some restrictions on who we can serve. And most research programs are funded by federal money, so they do not accept undocumented students. This is a huge issue. When I meet undocumented students at community college who are interested in science majors, helping them navigate, well, here's what you can access is a much trickier thing, because they should, in my opinion, be able to access the same types of opportunities that California residents can, and they can't right now. So I would love to see the creation of more programs that serve students regardless of their citizenship status. I would love to have more programs that are open to community college students to do research at Berkeley. There are a few, but they're limited. So besides the B2B program, we've got the Transfer to Excellence program, also serves exclusively community college students. I know through the partnership with Lawrence Berkeley Lab, there's the community college internships there. But there's these other programs that are only for students from four-year colleges. So we really could have a lot more programs, and a lot of it comes down to finding funding for that, because research programs are quite expensive compared to other types of programming. And so being able to better collaborate for getting additional grants so that we could expand some of this access, either for short immersive programs, like the ones I mentioned in the beginning, or for summer-long research programs. That's something that I would be particularly interested in collaborating with folks on.
Great, thank you so much. Angélica, we will go to you next for this.
Thank you. So, this is a dangerous question for an administrator who sits at an executive level, because it's like, well, okay, well, what is possible, right? And I'm just a firm believer that with money, anything is possible. And with money, with resources, with a clearly articulated agenda and a way where people feel like they're a part of it. So opportunities moving forward, I think that supporting the work of CEO and the partnership and the collaboration and utilizing this space as an ongoing brain trust and think tank is certainly something that could be of practice from an organizational perspective, right? So I think this space has been phenomenal. Some comments have already been made around the residential experiences and things of that nature. There are two things that came to mind for me as I was thinking about Berkeley City College and its unique position and partnership space with multiple entities. And so there is UC Berkeley right up the street. Behind the corner is Berkeley High School, which actually has a larger footprint space than does Berkeley City College with our two spaces. Then you have Berkeley Unified School District. So now we're capturing all of essentially K through 12. And then what I would say is the city of Berkeley, right, as a community. And so one of the current vision it focuses is that of the Berkeley City Promise that I think has kind of ebbed and flowed over the years. But in essence, what we have is a resource generating mechanism that's about wanting to provide pathway to higher education. And so I would be interested in entertaining what a focused agenda around STEM pathway development looks like, and where collectively as a community, we're really looking at what it means to engage literally from the point of kindergarten and TK, and utilizing a scaffolding approach or utilizing developmental learning approach, right? Like what it looks like to put that in terms of curriculum development at all the levels, the collaboration between faculty and these systems, recognizing that it's a privileged situation. I get it. It may not be a model that can be replicated across the state, but I don't believe that just because it can't, I think because it maybe cannot be done in other parts around the state, that there's an onus of responsibility, right? Like we've got to figure out with all of the brilliance and energy and passion that we have in our local community to figure out how to make this work. So I'm interested in that kind of conversation and almost rolling out a Berkeley City College or Berkeley City Promise 2.0 of some sort, right? What would it look like if collectively we said it was important, especially for our local economic region when I'm thinking of our career and technical education programs. So that maybe might not lead to a transfer to UC Berkeley, but may. And how are we generating and training the workforce to go right back into our community is another one. And here's one that I just thought of, and I'm aware that maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm going to anyway. How do we utilize opportunities for community college faculty to engage in sabbatical experiences where UC Berkeley welcomes community college faculty to engage in their own research and honing, and something that could be developed and started at UC Berkeley to then come back into their teaching and learning spaces with community college students, with the goal being how we're increasing that pathway and that pipeline. Certainly as from a president college or a college president perspective, I'm always interested in expanding our own learning, right? The minute that we decide that we are complete experts in our area is the minute that we have stopped growing and being open to possibilities. And so the research experience for students, I think also could be beneficial by having community college faculty engage in that kind of work. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. The teacher research experience is just as important as the undergraduate research experience as well. And there is not enough of it happening. Okay, Amanda, we are going to go to you for this as well. What are you thinking about for the future?
I wanted to echo that too. I think a connection between Berkeley faculty and CC faculty would be amazing. I mean, I think that there's just so much that could be, students could just benefit so much more if, you know, again, we're talking about that bureaucracy and, you know, the way that we control kind of those relationships. I mean, I think that that would be an amazing thing to be able to somehow pull off or have someone champion. When you were mentioning this, two things came to mind for me. One, I think I hesitate, I'm not sure how to put this, maybe as a silver lining, but the fact that UC is now, that Berkeley is being forced, I guess most of the UCs are being forced to actually put a lot of their curriculum online, I think is a huge opportunity. Because now, as you know, transfer students can take summer classes the summer before they start, you know, some of the sort of their official fall start, right? Many can't do that because they aren't currently living in Berkeley, or they don't have, you know, they don't have the financial stability to move here early, or they have family commitment, all those kinds of things. So the fact that curriculum is now, you know, that Berkeley is being forced to put a lot of this curriculum online, I think is a huge opportunity for students. You know, the CalTeach, you know, example, I'm not sure whether that curriculum is going online, but that would be a way for students to jumpstart. I know that there are lots of programs on campus who include, you know, data science included in this, that have courses that are only offered at Berkeley that students can't take anywhere else. And so that means that they are behind as soon as they get here. They actually have to start on lower division coursework when they get here. They aren't ready just to jump into upper division work in some cases. And so if more curriculum was available online, they could get through some of that the summer before they started. So that is one area that I'm hopeful that may begin to open up some doors for students once, you know, if that gets formalized, or if that's, you know, going to be something that we're just doing now. The other thing is, if anybody is interested, and this is something that we've been talking about as the Transfer Success Group, is doing some kind of myth busting, because we realize that there are a lot of misconceptions about transfer students, and especially transfer students in STEM, and kind of getting that data that Laleh mentioned, but also kind of figuring out some of these just real statistics within a classroom. We know that many of our faculty, and not just faculty, our students, other folks on campus, there is this sort of transfer student stigma. And fighting that, right? Like figuring out, how do we get the data out there? How do we get the images out there to start to fight some of that? Because I think it's not only coming from, it's coming at students in all different ways, right? It's the first year student who didn't want to partner with the transfer student because they had heard that transfer students don't, you know, they don't know as much in this particular area. All of those kinds of things that come along with, you know, being othered in a certain area like STEM. So that's something that we've been talking about. If anybody has any ideas on how to, you know, kind of come up with a campaign for that, to start to dispel some of these, I think, really sort of hurtful myths that are out there, we'd really love to see that.
Thank you so much to our panelists. Ryan, I'm going to go to you now for an audience question.
Yeah, well, I think it pivots well from what Amanda just said, but Darren Gray has a question for us about these sorts of issues. Darren, I'll unmute you now.
Hi, Darren Gray from the USC Viterbi School of Engineering. So with respect to the perception and even the preparation of community college students, how do we make sure that they can compete against their counterparts who are the four-year students? The four-year students have been a part of a cohort, so they have a sense of community already. They know the professors, so they have a head start in terms of just recognition. And I know some schools don't start the students on their engineering classes until later, but in Viterbi, our students start their engineering classes their freshman year. So for community college students, they're at a disadvantage in that they have not had that experience. One thing that we found helps in overcoming that are programs like what Base 11 has in some institutions, and also some of our faculty members will partner with community colleges. One of our faculty members, Dr. Gigi Ragusa, partners with a engineering professor at East LA College. So having those direct connections seems to be the way in which we are able to overcome that. But in terms of just competition, we still have to overcome that where, you know, with internships, with Northrop or Snapchat or in addition. So making sure that we're cognizant of that when students are transferring in, that they still have to compete head to head. I know we like to believe it's collaboration, but it still is competition even among the four-year students, because if there's one job, I want it, you know. So it's just one of those things that I wanted to bring to the attention.
Thank you so much. And any panelists that'd like to jump in here, feel free to.
Well, I actually think there's somebody on the call who would be really great at answering this. Great. I don't know if I can, I don't know if Tiffany, you want to comment?
Sure. Hi, I'm Tiffany Reardon, and I work in the College of Engineering at Berkeley. Fun fact, I used to work at Skyline.
Yay.
So I know some folks. I'm like, oh, Skyline. I actually run a program here at Berkeley called T-Prep, which is the Transfer Pre-Engineering Program. And so what we do in T-Prep is it happens 3 weeks before the semester starts. So it's just right before the Golden Bear orientation. And we bring students on campus, all engineering transfers, and they're here for a 3-week experience. So basically it's like a summer bridge program, but it's specifically for transfer students. And what we do in T-Prep, it's not graded, but we really kind of give students a primer course on what they're going to be taking in their fall semester, help them transition, help them build community with each other, help them build community with previous transfer students. It's all taught by next or previous students and grad students, and it's really worked very nicely in having a transfer community in engineering. Aside from T-Prep, we also have a class called Transfer Link, where engineering transfer students meet once a week. That's also nice for students that weren't able to do T-Prep, because they're able to connect with other students as well. And I'm pretty inclusive. I mean, I have econ transfer students, I've had business, I've had, poli-sci. Basically, we just want students to connect with each other. And I think one thing we all know about transfer students is that they have an affinity with each other, and that's really nice. So we're able to kind of nurture that.
Thank you so much. Any other folks want to take this question? How our community college students can be competitive against, I think, their four-year counterparts to access some of these programs.
I think one thing that I would maybe note, and this one is actually less about directly about students, and I think more about how it is that we refer to one another when we're having conversations with students. So I think that one thing that I would offer to this discussion is how it is that we can model for students with whom we work about how we speak about other systems, about other partners. And so I think that to somehow not name that there is a hierarchy of how we're looking at institutions, and I would even say amongst the UCs, y'all really organize yourselves into a hierarchy of who's best at what when. We love best of lists, right? And so I think that one of the things that we can do really from that cultural development piece is to speak with one another with the same level of respect and understanding that excellence is being demanded throughout all the systems, even if I might have some opinions about the organization or opinions about how it works. But that starts to break down, and we start to rewrite the narrative that a community college transfer student is somehow less than, and fill in the blank, than someone who came right out of high school. Because the fact of the matter is that many community college students are staying at their local community college, not because of academic aptitude or ability or capacity, but because they're responding to needs that are more relevant to their families, their communities. And so the choice somehow that a student didn't go right into a four-year setting should not be automatically translated to, again, academic ability. So I find myself even trying to, I mean, I was originally in a four-year system. coming to community college. And so I'm even trying to catch myself in somehow not, if I'm really going to be transparent, like demonizing the 4-year systems and the UC systems, right? In community college, we like to say we take the top 100% of all students in the state of California. That's a dig at the fact that the California master plan has set us up, right, to follow this tiered model. So I don't want to belabor the point, just saying that in our small worlds and where we interact with one another, with students, we can start to break that down and really make some cultural shifts and changes in our language of how we connect and speak about one another.
I couldn't agree more. As someone who is very proud to have gone through the community college system, I'm always shocked not to see other folks I know who went to community colleges not listing that on their resume. And I'm like, what? We need to be proud and we need to show it, right? So I list that AA and AS degree very proudly, and I always put it in bios and stuff like that. So I definitely think that the language that we use to sort of celebrate our community college students is extremely, extremely valuable in having them actually advocate and do that for themselves as well. So I will say what I said earlier. We are exploding over with a bunch of questions we didn't get to and a bunch of really, really great perspectives. I hope you all will consider sharing your questions, your resources, and your desires for future partnerships and collaborations in the Google form that we're going to be sharing with all of you. And we will be facilitating connections between folks who have similar priority areas or agendas. And I wanted to say thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our audience members for tuning in. This is a really, really amazing discussion. And it sounds like from some of the questions and the comments that we've been receiving as well, that we may need to do a follow-up to not only facilitate more partnerships, but also to check in on the future partnerships that are generated as a result of this conversation, because we want to keep hanging out with all of you. So with that, I will just say thank you, thank you, thank you. And before you turn off your chat and your Zoom meeting, I'm just gonna turn it over to Dan really quick. But thank you, we appreciate you. You are also awesome. Okay, Dan.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Laleh, you did a wonderful job as well. So thank you so much. And Ryan, great job on queuing up the questions. And thank you to the panel, of course. But I really, really want to thank the audience. You've been so well behaved. It's just fantastic. I haven't had to worry about any Zoom bombing or anything of that nature. But what's really, really wonderful is you've been sharing some great resources in the chat, things we didn't even get to mention. But the lovely thing about Zoom is that the recording will capture all that. So when we post the Zoom recording, you can actually scroll through the chat at your leisure and find what looks like it's important to you or will be of use to you. So thank you for those resources, and thank you, everyone. I believe that is it, but do take care. And yeah, hopefully we can do a follow-up. That would be wonderful. And with that, I think, Ryan, do you have anything to say?
I was going to say, we really do appreciate the time. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you, guests. And we will be sharing all of our resources, like Dan indicated, in just a little bit. Please do remember, we will also send out a 1-minute survey and evaluation at the end of this as well. So please make sure to fill that out. Your feedback helps us improve our services. A 60-second evaluation. Thank you for sharing that, Laleh. It's in the chat right now. So if everyone could also please click on that before signing out, we would really appreciate the feedback. Thanks again, y'all.
Take care.
Bye, thank you.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, it was great. Did he stop